Without any further ado, coming to tonight's session on product strategy for tomorrow's Chief Product Officer. Let me give an introduction to our very distinguished and eminent speaker of tonight, Mr. Subhayu Ghosh. Subhayu is a serial entrepreneur turned product leader with over 21 years of experience in developing AI-based niche products in the field of supply chain, e-commerce, ERP, sales marketing, and risk management. He has worked across the globe with Fortune 100 companies like Amazon and Emirates Airlines to generate a revenue of more than $98 million through strategic product leadership. His products have won several awards, including the prestigious UN Award for Product Excellence, StatTimes International Award for Excellence, and the DHL Award for Reliability and Excellence. He has been an advisor to governments, guiding them in developing state-of-the-art national infrastructure to promote product leadership. He studied product management and product strategy from Stanford University and Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. He is also pursuing his MSc in Innovation and Entrepreneurship in HEC Paris. He has successfully mentored hundreds of product managers across the world and has been teaching product leadership for the last 14 years, both in India and abroad. A very warm welcome to you, Subhayu. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us tonight. Handing the session over to you now.
Thank you, Sama, for the nice introduction. And very good evening, good morning, and warm good afternoon to all the viewers from across the globe. It's my pleasure to talk to you and connect to you. So thanks for the opportunity. So let me, I know all of you are excited. So let me jump straight into the topic, right? Just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Okay, I think we are all set, right? So as you know that today's topic is about the correct product strategies or some of the secrets that Apple applies. And this is very interesting. It took a lot of time for me, sort of 21 years of a long journey to get to the current level of understanding that I am at. And I'll try and downpour that understanding of 21 years in 45 minutes. So buckle up and wait for some insights, right? But before I begin, I have a surprise for you, right? And we want to do an audience poll. Are we ready, Shama?
Yes, you can go for it.
Okay. So here's the poll in front of you. So if I have to give you a birthday gift, which is very nice at the beginning of the session, right? You choose any of the three phones, an Apple iPhone 11, a Samsung A51, or a ZTE Nubia Red Magic 5G. You have around 30 seconds. Quick, maybe you can just receive your birthday gift. You never know, right? So let's do a quick poll. And then we'll see the results, and from there we'll move on. Huh? So please just hit the button, click, and let's view the results. So just as a reminder,
the answer in the first 5 seconds itself, Subhayu.
Oh, I know someone has got a new phone. I won't disclose further. Yeah. So audience, please quickly give your answers and let's see. Right. Whoa. Okay. Well, that's no surprise, right? So 83% has chosen an Apple iPhone 11, 11% Samsung A51, and 6% Nubia Red Magic 5G. Very interesting, right? I mean, Samsung and Nubia probably almost close, and Apple is the by far winner. Excellent. Okay, thank you for polling with me. So with that, I think we can easily transition into the next topic. And here you see not only Apple has been successful in this particular poll, but this is some statistics for you, where these are the app revenues that Apple has generated. So Apple App Store has around 100 and I mean 1,960,000 apps in their App Store, versus Google has 2.8 million. So you see there are many more choices that Google Play offers, but the revenue wise, Apple is almost double that of Google. So definitely you can see that with 2/3 of the apps, they are generating double the revenue. So there is some magic, there is some desirability, and even this poll, in 86%, if I remember, so has of people have said that they want an Apple. So what creates this infectious magic, this infectious desirability of getting of associating with the Apple brand, of buying an Apple phone? So that's the topic of today, and I think that's how it is sort of the poll was relevant, right? So let's dive deep and see, wearing a product manager's hat, that how Apple would have defined the product attributes and how Apple would have chose to sell the product. Huh? Okay, now this is your customer, right? So this is the world of the customer, and there are so many things, right? It is you and me, right, at the center of our own world, and there are so many things revolving around us, and it's very easy, right? I mean, if you look at the success of Apple phone, I think if you think of it in a simple terms, it's very easy. So all the product manager had to do from Apple is they had to be really educated and understand the customer in order to deliver a great product through great or groundbreaking innovation. They created a great product and they backed it up with the best of technology. That's it. These are the three simple things, right? And folks, I would highly encourage you to pass on your comment. Like, if you agree, just say yes, or if you have a different dimension, let's keep interacting, so that you don't do, you're in the same space with us. Yeah. So if you think yes, these three resonates, these three are the major reasons why Apple is successful, just type in your chat box. Yeah. Okay. Now, if these are the three simple yet most effective things that make a great product, question is, why would other companies not be able to do that, right? So, but then let's first have a look at the product and technology angle, and let's compare an Apple iPhone to other phones. Yeah? So if we look at a product and technology angle and compare the three phones that I gave you, the battery wise, I think Apple iPhone 11 is not as good as a A51 or a Nubia. Then the processor, Apple is a hexa-core with 12.5 gigahertz, while the Samsung is an octa-core with 16 gigahertz. It's a powerful machine. And the other one is octa-core with 17.3 gigahertz. Internal memory, touchscreen, etc. are almost all the same. Nothing much here. If you look at the screen resolution, it is also, I would say, Samsung is better, 405 ppi compared to 326 ppi, right? So even if you look at the screen to body ratio, Apple is at 79% compared to a Samsung at 87.4%. So by far, so far, whatever we have seen, the product offering for a Samsung and a Nubia looks to be better, huh? And here the 6% who voted for Samsung might be saying, hey, I told you, Samsung is a better phone. Huh? You don't listen to me. You just crazy people. You buy Apple phones. Huh? But okay, jokes aside, let's get into the other part, right? You see the Apple camera is a 12 megapixel versus A51 is a 48 megapixel quad core. So by any dimension, it doesn't appear. And even the front selfie camera in a Samsung is 32 megapixel compared to this. And look at Nubia, right? The rear camera is 64 megapixel. Like, what an offering, right? And even if you look at the speed of all the three phones, they're all the same, 5.6 Mbps across, 5.76, Mbps across all the three phones. So as far as product and technology is concerned, long story short, it seems that Apple may not be the fully packed product, right? iPhone, to be specific, iPhone 11. It seems A51 and a Nubia Red Magic is probably a more fully featured packed product when it comes to product and technology. So that doesn't seem to be a right option. Then what's the right option, right? So as you can see, definitely a Nubia is a far feature packed product than a A51 and then the Apple 11. Yeah. So the secret sauce is definitely not that. So now let's explore the next angle, which is the innovation angle. Is iPhone the most innovative phone? So here I've shown you some innovative phones. This is actually a phone, I forgot even the brand. And you can actually work it like a stylus. And it's a super looking phone. It's a cool phone. By seeing it, I want to try it. I want to experiment it. This is a nice one, yeah. And it also has a voice changer, so I can change my voice and become a Hollywood actor if I want to. Huh? Then these are some other interesting innovative phones I found through Google search. The middle one is an Energizer, which is basically a two-in-one. It's a phone and a power bank together. And then the one on the right that you see here has a charger for the ear pod. So it's super nice, very good. The one on the left is for tourists who are going on jungle safaris, etc. This is very hard. It cannot break. Even if a car goes on top of this phone, it is resistant to that. It has a thermal camera. You can see the elephants in the night. So it can save you. It has a lot of cool features. These are quite good examples of innovation. And the next example is, this is a pretty expensive innovation on the right hand side. And this is a watch phone, which is a phone actually, phone come watch. It does everything that you want. This is a foldable, it's a two-in-one. It's a tablet come phone. So you can actually fold it, it becomes a phone, and you open it up, it becomes a tablet or an iPad, as Apple product would say. Pretty innovative stuff. This is another innovative stuff. On the right-hand side, you can see the two concepts of something known as a no phone. If you have heard about a no phone, just chat and say, yes, I've heard about it. Yeah. So that, it gives me an acknowledgement also. Yeah. And this no phone at the bottom that you see is actually not a phone at all. It's a piece of plastic. And it's for phone addicts who want to get rid of the phone, de-addiction of phone. So but they want to hold the phone. So they have this as a dummy. On the top is a very basic phone. It's just a message, and you can call, and you can save some contacts. That's it. So these are for people who have arrived in life and want some nirvana time. So it's a quite innovative concept. On the left hand side, these two are the same phone. Very unique advertisement. They are actually a full plastic phone, including all the circuits inside. Nothing is made out of metal. Full plastic. Why? Because they are made for prisoners. Now, prisoners, when they need to go inside the prison from outside, coming from a parole or whatever, when these small phones are smuggled inside the prison, the metal detectors, they should pass through the metal detectors. So any other phone will get caught, but not this one. So that's the unique innovation out there. And why, all this donut and the chicken is because they need to hide these phones in the wrong places, you see. So that's what the advertisement is telling you. Yeah? So quite funny as well. And it's a size for lipstick. So these are some innovative phones. So would you compare an iPhone to be innovative, iPhone 11 from this? I would doubt. So definitely what we began with, saying that it has to be a super great differentiated product or a great technology or great innovation, that's not the secret sauce. That's what the lies they tell you, but that's not the right thing. So this product manager for me is a failure. Right? It's like me. You think you know everything, you read a book, I nailed it, but no. So who is the best product manager who can actually create such products? It is this space satellite. Now, how counterintuitive is it, right? You say, what? I said, yes. Because this space satellite, number one, and very, very important, folks, very important thing. Yeah. If there's one thing I want you to capture, it is this one, which is it does not have a brain. Because when you have a brain, you start thinking that, hey, I know what the customers think, but probably you don't. So all this product manager, which is the space satellite, does is on a 24-hour basis, keeps monitoring the customer, keeps observing the customer, keeps getting the data, and that's it. And all the decisions are made based on that data, not based on what the satellite thinks is the right thing to do. Yeah. So that's the message. Yeah. Okay, now let's look at all these phones on a XY axis curve. So on a differentiation, the product differentiation, the product feature wise, right? So the best phone the most differentiated phone from a product feature perspective was the Nubia that we saw, right? Uh, and it is priced at 40,000 INR, and it has a very small share of market, right? And by the way, Nubia is focuses on gamers. So gamers who use mobile phones, they focus on that segment. So it has a very small market. Now let's look at Samsung Galaxy A51. The total number of sales they have done in the first half of 2020 is 11.4 million, and they have a unit price of 22, let's say 23,000. Yeah. Now let's look at iPhone. So the iPhone 11 did a massive sales of 37.7, and iPhone doesn't pay me, by the way. Yeah. So just a disclaimer. Huh? So there were massive sales of around 37.7 million in the first half of 2020, and each phone is costing 54,900. Yeah. So you can definitely see, the desirability not only in the poll, not only in the App Store revenue statistics, but also in the number of phones that are selling and the total revenues it is generating. So what is this magic that a phone that is not so much product packed, right, is generating so much of revenue? What is this, right? So that's what you got to understand. And that's why I always tell the young product managers that, hey, great products are not necessarily the best products, right? So absorb this, right, as we go along. So the answer is simple. It's a competitive advantage. So somehow iPhone 11 has been able to generate a greater competitive advantage than a A51. Simple, right? It's a fact. Question is how, right? So we'll come to that. Now let's look at the magic of competitive advantage from a perspective of iPhone SE. Now the SE, which is a very old phone compared to 11, and now even 12 has come out, right? Has done a sales of 8.7 million in the first half of 2020 with a unit price of 33,000, let's say. And the total revenue that iPhone SE has been able to generate is far more than even a Samsung Galaxy A51. Can you imagine that, right? So definitely there is a distinct advantage that the iPhone platform product portfolio has been able to create, right? So what is this competitive advantage, and how can we as product managers develop this competitive advantage is the game, right? Now let's also look at some other phones in this curve between differentiation and competitive advantage. Huh? So the other phone was a no phone, right? So the no phone is priced at 800 unit, and I don't know, they don't publish the data, so I don't know, but I'm guessing they're not able to sell in millions. They're probably able to sell in hundreds or thousands. Huh? So definitely they have a very small market and a very small unit price. So this is not a product where you want to become the product manager, right? So now let's look at some pricing strategies, right? So, and it will be interesting for you to understand the pricing strategies so that you get a hang of the competitive advantage. So let me first talk about the A51. The pricing is at half the price, less than half the price of iPhone. So definitely the proposition. Now here is another important thing, a concept in marketing known as a positioning. So the positioning of iPhone says that, hey, A51 says that if you cannot afford an Apple iPhone 11, then buy me, right? Which is basically competing on the cost and nothing else, right? So that's known as a cost leadership strategy. Yeah. The next strategy is around differentiation strategy. So Apple iPhone 11 is saying, hey, I'm not a cheap product. I have a clear differentiation and I have a clear desirability in the market. And if you have enough money and enough passion, then you have to buy, then you get to own me as iPhone 11. Yeah. So that's a differentiation strategy. They are not fighting on cost, but they are fighting on competitive advantage. Yeah. Now, now the difficult part is to decide on iPhone SE, whether is that a cost or a competitive advantage or a differentiation strategy. I would say it's a differentiation strategy. Yeah. Reason? Because if you look at, this is an age-old phone compared to the life cycle of a phone. yet they're priced 1.5 times more than a Galaxy A11, which is a very new release. And the phone features is not even half the offering. So definitely it's a differentiation strategy. They're not fighting on price. So one thing clearly that is a lesson for me to learn from these three things is that if my product that I create is priced on a cost leadership strategy, then you don't need a product manager. Then you just need to fight on cost. And when you fight on cost tooth and nail, at some point you're going to die, right? That's for sure. So you have to create enough competitive advantage to fight on a differentiation, to position your product on a differentiation strategy, right? Okay. Now let's look at the Nubia. Now Nubia pricing point is at 40,000. So it's not a cheap product, right? But it does not have a huge market. So it's a differentiation focus strategy. Why focus? Because it is focusing only on one segment of the market. It is not a huge market or the worldwide market. It is only focusing on mobile gamers, right? So that's the market segment they're tapping into. Now let's look at the worst part, which is the cost focus strategy, where you're positioning your product based on cost, which is 800 rupees, which is cheap enough, but yet you don't have a huge market. You have a small focused market. So this is the worst thing. How to die is by adopting this particular policy, right? So as a product manager, when you want to create successful products, one of the first things you have to understand is you cannot deploy a cost leadership or a focus strategy. You should always think big and think of a differentiation strategy, right? And and if your product passes the test of differentiation strategy, you can say that I have enough competitive advantage, right? So let's look at the mystery over competitive advantage, right? And if you can crack this mystery, there you go, and make no jokes about it, that then you are a deserving chief product officer for tomorrow, right? So what's the mystery around it? So what is competitive advantage? That's the first question. And the second question is how to secure this competitive advantage. So let's see. So competitive advantage is nothing but a willingness to pay by the customer. So if the customer has a greater willingness to pay, you have a more competitive advantage. Simple as that, right? And if the customer has a lower willingness to pay, you have to position your product based on the cost. So you don't have competitive advantage there. Now, how to secure? Very simple. You increase the willingness to pay, right? Now the point is that you say, hey, Subhayu, hey, listen. What you're saying is very simple. How do I increase the willingness to pay, right? Well, yeah, that is what I needed to figure out for 21 years. I'm still figuring it out, right? But I can share you some glimpses of it. Okay, so here comes the guru, my guru, and he's inspired me to come to this world. So this is his quote, right? He says there's a very simple formula, which is that you come closer to the customer ever, to your customer, so that you can tell the customer before even they realize what you need, right? So that's where the magic is, right? And there is nothing else. If you master this, that's it. You will be able to create competitive advantage. Now here, I want you to understand that here we are then talking about customers. So you literally have to get inside the consumer psychology, right? You have to get inside the brain of the customer. So I want you to do this with me. Yeah, I want to do this icebreaker with me, and so that you don't also sleep. So do some evening exercise for folks in India and for the rest of the world as well, to do some exercise. So rotate your right hand in a clockwise. Yeah. So do it with me. Okay. So you rotate your right hand in a clockwise, and now stop it and rotate your left hand anti-clockwise. Okay. Try this. Doing it? Promise me? Yeah. Cool. Now try and do them together. And if you fail, just laugh. Huh? So you see? Now please do share your experience on the chat and how you feel about it. Yeah. So was it difficult, easy? Was it interesting? So yeah, doing the same together. Okay. So here, let me see. I haven't been monitoring the chat. Okay, I have it. Indeed interesting. Okay. It was fun, right? Cool. Difficult to do. Superb. Okay, good. So I have some insights now. So here it is. Thank you for messaging. So, and this is very, very important as a product manager. And this is a part of consumer psychology. Why? Because your right hand and your left hand works out of different parts of the brain, right? So your right hand works out of the left brain, your left hand works out of the right brain. So one side of the brain is dealing with emotions. The other side is a logical part of the brain. All of us know that, right? So what happens is when we are emotional, we think from one part of the brain, which is fine. When we are practical, logical data, we think from the other side of the brain, which is also fine in isolation. But what if we want to think in a 360-degree? We want to think both, take the emotional parts and also take the logical parts together, right? So that we have a better picture. Then this is what happens. That means that corporate psychology says, or rather customer psychology says, that the person cannot think at the same time on two dimensions. They cannot be practical and emotional at the same time. So at a given point of time, you're either using your emotions or you're using the practical sides of your brain. You cannot do it at the same time. So that's a very, very important aspect that you have to understand for your customer. Why? Now I come straight to another point is what is now look at, imagine the brain as a house, huh? So you use your bedroom for sleeping, you use your kitchen for cooking, right? You use your living room to watch TV, relax. You cannot be at two places at the same time. And that is how your thoughts are, right? So your thoughts about, sleeping are on this side of the brain, your thoughts about studying are on this side of the brain, so on and so forth. Question now is that where is the buying decision? Which part of the brain is the buying decision, right? So the buying decision is not a practical decision, it's an emotional decision. And that's a very deep inside of your customer that you have to understand. And of course, nobody understood it better than Steve Jobs, huh? He never declared it publicly, but these are corporate strategies which you can, your customer strategies which when you take further courses, etc., you get to understand deeper. But a simple fact, buying decision is an emotional decision, it's an impulsive decision. Please consider that when you're making your product. What does that mean? That means that when you buy a phone, you are not going to base on your megapixels or your gigahertz, etc. You are going to base on an emotional impulse and an appeal. Hey, I will buy. This is a great phone. I need it. That's it, right? It's like romance, huh? When you're romancing, oh wow, I'm mad, right? And then when life hits you after marriage, etc., I don't know if your views change, yeah? But so take it with that thing, yeah. Okay, moving on. So once you have your customers psychology sorted, let's look at the exercise that I did. Let's look at it from a product management theory perspective. So this is your diffusion curve or your product adoption cycle, yeah. So you can see there are 5 types of customers, and only 16% of the customers of your customers will be the innovators and the early adopters. So these innovators and early adopters are the tech enthusiasts and the visionaries who are basically excited with the product features, yeah. So they are very practical people who are the left brain thinkers. So they are all the practical people. They get excited with the technology, products, etc. For them, for this market, 16% of the market, as A51 sort of a product will appeal. But the majority, which is the 84% of the market, don't really care about it. So what do their buying decision is based on impulses and emotions. So how you create that? And your success product cannot be successful with only 16% of the population, right? So this is the first theory that I wanted to introduce. But before that, we've seen the practical aspects, yeah? Now, let's look at another psychology theory from Maslow, where Maslow says that there are 3, and this is very important from a product perspective. So there are 3 different needs of a human being: a basic need, a psychological need, and a self-fulfillment need. Right? Now, in order to sell any product, the minimum thing you have to do is to find out the basic needs and give it to them, right? And then the price or the value of the product can be increased as you move from the basic to the psychological need to the self-fulfillment need. Yeah, the psychological needs are love, belongingness, esteem. I'm somebody in life. Everybody wants to be somebody. Yeah, and the self-fulfillment need is about creativity, music, art, something, right? But at first you need to feed yourself, so that's a basic need. So basic safety needs, etc. So these are the hierarchy of needs. Now when I look at it, as I said, the product, the willingness to pay of a customer at a basic need is basic, right? But as your product appeals to the psychological need, the willingness to pay will increase. Now, the more and more your product appeals to more psychological needs and more self-fulfillment needs, the willingness to pay will even increase more. And it will further increase more when you actually hit the self-actuation stage of a customer. Yeah. So now if you look at another theory, which is the 5 product levels theory, or a complete product offering from Philip Kotler. So what he has said is there are 5 types of products. One is a core product, generic, expected, augmented, and potential. Yeah. Now, a core product will fulfill the basic needs of the product. A generic will fulfill a little bit more. An expected product is what the customer really wants. Yeah. And then an augmented product is giving them something extra, and a potential product is what they didn't even think about, and that can really wow them. Yeah. So these are 5 levels of a product. Now your product has to also move up the curve. Right. Now here is the third theory to discuss with you, which is the Kano model. Yeah. Now the Kano model is also about customer satisfaction theory. It says that customers have 3 types of needs. One is a need which is defined as a must. 2 is a need which is defined as a want. And third one is a wow. Now, most important factor is if you keep adding the must features or the must requirements of the customer, if you see here, you can never hit a positive satisfaction. You will always be somewhere in the 0 level of satisfaction. So all your megapixels, gigahertz, etc., you keep on adding, but you cannot fully satisfy the customer with that. You have to address the product has to move from must to want to wow. Right? So if you address a few wants, the satisfaction will increase a lot. If you address 1 or 2 wow factors, that will be like ace it. Yeah. So that is where an Apple product is differentiated. Yeah. So if you see here, let's look at Apple features. The must features where the 12.5 gigahertz, 4 RAM, and 12 M camera, right? So 12 megapixel camera. So what Apple has researched is a customer does not buy megapixel. They buy a Facebook photo. They buy an Instagram photo. They buy a YouTube video, right? And these technicalities, 4 GB RAM and a 12 megapixel camera and a 12.5 gigahertz is enough for them to do all this. So they don't need higher or more technical features. As I always say, if you have to kill a mosquito, don't buy a gun, buy a spray. So you have to, more is not always good. Less is more sometimes. So that's your basic must features. Now your want. So what they discovered is a customer wants better video clarity more than anything else. So despite their 12 camera, if you see their offering in the video clarity, it has a 240 FPS of frames per second. And if you see here, the frames per second is far better than a Samsung or even a Nubia. So that is the one feature that they are standing out, because that feature matters and other features do not matter. So what intelligent selection of features. Yeah. Now look at their rear camera, and all their cameras are 12 megapixel. Do you see that on Apple iPhone 11? But in other phones, you will see the front camera 48, the rear camera 32. That means they haven't even figured out what the customer needs clearly. Yeah. Now, what is the wow factor? The wow factor is none of these. The wow factor is the music that iTunes gives you. The wow factor is the apps that Apple gives you. Yeah. And within those apps, what creative things you can do. That's why 2/3 number of apps just generating double the revenue, because those apps are appealing to your creativity. They're, you can do your music, and in fact Apple actually pays developers to create extremely creative apps. They say, I will pay you, don't worry, but you create, that's it. So and that Samsung does not have the luxury to do, because they don't own an iOS. They have to look forward to Google, right? And why should Google do that? So this is where the strategy is coming into play. So now if you look at all the three strategies that I talked about, how they all marry together, yeah, and how they all gel up. So you can see that basic needs becomes a must, and that's a core product. The safety needs also becomes a must, that's a generic product. The psychological need becomes a want, that's your expected product. And a self-fulfillment need becomes a wow, that's your potential or augmented product, right? Now, how you layer each type of products into one product is the important thing. So clearly, the problem with other phones is they have focused so much on core product, and they have bloated the core product so much, but they haven't even worked on the expected and augmented product level. Yeah, make sense? And so bottom line is super simple. You just have to increase the appeal from basic to psychological to self-fulfillment. Yeah, and it can work in phone industry or any other industry. So you see your WTP, which is your willingness to pay, increases as you keep adding the layers of product one after the other. So your aim should be always to start from core, but go to the potential. But don't get so wowed about the potential, because you have to start from the core. Because if you don't offer a core offering, if you don't give me rice, I'm not going to have the nice curry. Yeah. So you should have your core ready as well. Now, let's see about Steve Jobs, how he did that. So there is something known as accessibility versus availability. So let me talk about accessibility and availability from my personal experience. Yeah. So when I was in teens and school, I was dating. One of my friend was also dating his school friend. So he used to visit his girlfriend every day, 30 days a month. And every day he would give a gift. Now, we are not working at that time. We are poor people. So he would one day give her a flower, one day give her a letter, and some other day he would, buy her some chocolates. So he had a budget of around 200 rupees a month. So he would spend that. Now, my girlfriend used to visit me only once a month. And in that once a month, so I made sure that all my 200 rupees are being spent on a nice and expensive gift, right? So I would buy her nice pendants, nice necklaces, nice dresses, etc. So, after I got married, I asked her, hey, why did you sort of meet me not more frequently? Why did you meet me just once a month? She said, hey, if I met you every day like the other girl, you would have every day given me flowers and letters. What happened to my expensive gifts? Right? So that day, she taught me one thing about accessibility and availability. So your product should be accessible enough to create an appeal, but should not be available enough to make it cheap. Yeah. So how does Apple create that accessibility and create that appeal, that magic? So on your right-hand side, you can see Steve Jobs on the stage. From the launch, there he creates the desirability. Remember the first iPhone? He said, hey, this is not one thing. It is three things. It's an iPod. It's the best iPod. It's the best phone and the best internet service altogether. So he immediately created the willingness to pay thrice. So if you're willing to pay for an iPod and a phone and an internet separately, well, you pay double the amount of a phone. That's it, right? So that's the technique of creating a willingness to pay. Now, look at the customer experience. Now, look at their website that is on the bottom picture. What an appealing website, right? What a great customer experience. And then everything around the communication, the buzz, the news, the blog, the social media, the expert views. Everybody talking about an iPhone, right? So that's how you create a niche and you create a desirability, right? Before even the product. So you have to understand the journey of the customer, right? And track the journey, not just at buying point, yeah? From the beginning of the journey to create a desirability, then create a buying decision, and then create a buying experience, and then go on to create after sales experience, so on and so forth. That's how you create a bigger lifetime value of your customer. Okay. Now, as I said, the more you do this, see, the more the willingness to pay increases, right? Seems very simple. Now, let's wrap it up with whatever we have discussed. So the core of the competitive advantage that we were talking about is because of, one, the security that Apple provides. Yeah, you can see the app stores, the options of creativity that the app stores provide, and the music and the appeal to the customers. Yeah. Now, also let's look at the product launches, which is even before the buying the product, the great product launches. The great buying experience, this is the most unique feature. You buy an Apple phone, you feel like I have arrived in life. I have done something in life, right? Like somebody says, I'm a VP, and somebody says, no, I'm an Apple phone owner, right? So that's the statement. It appeals to your esteem, you feel. But when I buy a Samsung A51 or any other phone, the buying experience is not there, right? A crowded shop, and the owner makes me feel not so wanted. Yeah? Then the next is the after sales. So even after the sales, the support that your product has to offer, right? If your customer falls in has some questions, the resolving time and the way you make them feel, they feel that, yes, I'm a VIP, I'm being treated like one even after the sales. So important is not just the sale, the revenue. Important is the entire customer journey, from creating desirability to making the product accessible and making people aware, to the buying experience of the customer, to the after sales experience of the customer, and protecting the customer from the entire journey from start to finish, so that the customer now can change over to your next product that you're going to offer in the platform. Yeah. So that is what Apple does. So with that, I would like to see if there are any questions in the chat or any Q&A. Shama, you want me to?
Yes. Thank you for the brilliant session, Subhayu. Really great insights. And we do have questions lined up for you already, but just give me a moment. I'll share my screen.
So I'll stop sharing.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I like the chat, sir. Yeah, I like to be praised.
Yeah, I'm seeing some really great interaction there.
Yeah.
So audience, please go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A window or the comment section on LinkedIn. So also I'm seeing some really great comments in the chat section. So audience, if you want to come forward and ask your questions live to the speaker, then please go ahead and raise your hands and I shall unmute you. But while that's being done, Subhayu, if you could see the Q&A window.
Yeah. So
there's this question. Yeah, yes, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, shoot the question, Shama.
Right. So the question is, isn't the high switching cost also a factor for people to continue their iOS journey? This is from an anonymous attendee, but it's a great point.
Yes, absolutely. And you made a very good point. As I said, I mean, it's 21 years crammed into 45 minutes. So I cannot include everything. And that's why you need structured programs. But absolutely correct. The high switching cost. Now, the point is you have to also dive one level deeper to understand. So first for the audience, what is switching cost is very simple. That, if you want to replace the current product that you own with some other product, then what is preventing you or stopping you, right, to replace my product? So that's the switching cost, the cost to switch. Now, what Apple has done, the switching cost is a notion. Again, this is also a same principle. The switching cost cannot be basic. If the switching cost is money, you will lose the customer. So Apple has not said that switching cost is money. Apple is saying, if you move out of Apple, you will miss the security of Apple. If you move out of Apple, you will miss the App Store. You will miss the music. You will miss the experience. So automatically, when you capture your customer, in the entire 360 degree that the customer, you capture the must, the wants and the wows, automatically the switching cost is sort of taken care of. Huh? But to your point, short answer, yes.
Thank you for that, Bayu. I see that Satya has raised his hand, so I'll just allow him to talk. Satya, please go ahead and ask your question.
Go ahead, Satya.
No, I don't think he's available. Okay, anyways, we'll take the next question. Okay, he's there. Satya, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. First of all, thanks to you for putting it out in a very, very layman's language, but at the concept of a product manager. So thanks for that. And my question was, how did Apple knew before others could know this trick? And after having known, how did they maintain the competitive advantage even after it became an open secret? So it's like two questions at the cost of one iPhone.
Okay, good. So very good questions. I'm really enjoying it. Huh? So keep them coming. Super question again. So how did Apple know? Very simple. They hired my student. Huh? So okay. So jokes apart. So this is known as the design thinking approach, which is a completely different thing. I didn't think I had to discuss this, but I'll discuss it. The design thinking approach, or the customer ethnography, says that if you want to know, you remember the satellite? Yeah. If you want to know the must, the want, and the wow that will appeal to a customer, you got to observe the customer. Simple. But the biggest mistake, and 99.9% product managers make this mistake, they sit on their chair, and sorry to say, but that is the fact. They sit on their chair thinking they know everything about the world, right? Imagining that they know everything about the world, and they create products based on that. But I make sure more than 50% of my time I spend with the customer, not on my chair, right? So there you will get insights about the customer. Let me tell you a quick story, right? So when my daughter is an iPad addict. So one day I found an app which can record the screen for 24 hours. Huh? I did that and I watched. You know what she does? She doesn't, she, half of the time she's on YouTube watching videos, and not half, actually, one third. The remaining two third of the time she's on an app, which is as basic as MS Paint, right? And she is drawing circles, cat, kitten on that. And that is what keeps her engaged. If this insight you can get as an iPhone product manager, that's it. Then that is where you will take, and that is where you will create user stories around your customer persona. That, okay, this is my persona, a team, and this is what they want. This is the user story, and that's how you build on an agile method. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you for the question, Satya. Thank you for coming forward. So let's take this next question from Sandeep. These are great insights for any B2C product. What would be the right analogy for B2B products?
Oh, you guys ask me very difficult questions. Okay. So again, you hit the right chord. So again, of course, it is for B2C, and that's why Steve Jobs hated B2B market. Huh? So he said that these decision makers don't know what the users want. So I don't want to get into that. But the answer is, in B2B, your one product serves two customers, or sometimes three or four. So there's a user who is using your product. Mostly B2B I can relate to as softwares or other products, but let's say software. So there's a user at a zero level who are using your product on a day-to-day basis. And then there is your customer, and there are different levels of users, right? And then there's your customer, the CEO probably, who is paying for it, who may not be a user. So you got to think of the customer journey from all those four customer personas, or all those four dimensions, assuming there are four customers, right? And then you got to map out each person's what they want, what is must for them, what they want, and what will wow them. And you have to keep. So I was advising a B2B marketing platform, and that's exactly what I was telling them, that hey, your product is great for users, but why shall the CEO pay you money? Do you tell the CEO how much of revenue are you saving for them? He said no. I said, okay, you create a dashboard for the CEO so that he can go and see the metrics, So these are some of the things you have to. So it is a framework, a syllabus, but how you do the math within the syllabus is based on the product itself.
Thank you for that. Sandeep, I hope that answers your question. We'll take this next question from Rahul. How to create wow factor in legacy products?
Okay, that's another very, very interesting question. So I can give you a Lego example, right? So Lego was, and MIT does a very good job on this particular presentation actually. So Lego was struggling with their product, which is a legacy product, right? Then they were almost in the verge of, sort of bankruptcy. Then there was some person who said, hey, we have to spin the thing around. So what they did the same thing. They observed the customers and they saw the entire journey of the customer. Then they said that, hey, the customer actually, yes, they want to build, but question is not the Lego bricks. The question is that what they want to build. So if you give them some options with a picture and a diagram, and let's say a superhero, like it appeals to those category of customers, right? So you give them a superhero and tell them you can build a Superman. So that will appeal to a small kid and they'll do that. So then they started giving these options around the product. So they call it thinking around the box, not thinking within the box. So the answer is always the same. I proudly work for Amazon. If you ask me any question, I will always pull you back to the customer because that's the only way to do business, right? I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. I hope you have a little more time for us, Subhayu, because I see so many more questions. And yes, great then. So yes, so this next question is from Amol. How does one really be the satellite for our customer, and how to get great insights to make Apple-like products?
Yeah, so very simple. Get up from your chair, go to the customer, meet the customer. It's as simple as that. And you will hear stories and insights that you have never, ever, ever thought about, right? And though it may seem very simple, and when you practice it on a daily basis, on your schedule, like on my customer call days, if my CEO calls me, I'm not there. I don't, because that's important for me. I know my priorities as a product manager. So that is your daily habit, right? So yeah, and then those customers will actually share insights. And one very important point here: don't go only to your regular customers. Go to a customer. So do some research from your product base. Customers who have churned or left, customers who filed complaints in the customer service, and customers who have not brought your products. Go and ask them, and there are specific design thinking programs do that, so that you know what is the right question to ask them, and in 15-20 minutes time you will get a hang of what they want. Very simple.
Yep, thank you. So this next question is from Bharat. What spectrum of industries will go for Chief Product Officer in comparison to service delivery?
Super point. Now let me take you to the future, right? In the future, I mean, product leadership as a position is the fastest growing career today, right? Is the most desirable career today, and is the fastest growing career. There are year over year such positions. I mean, at least 36% year over year there's a growth that we can see. By 2025, 2030, every organization, small and big, will have a chief product officer, because if you're not listening to your customer, the customer will not pay you. And today nobody's in a monopoly business, right? Gone are those days. So it's becoming more and more important. And you would see this trend that even the head of products nowadays are always destined to be the CEO of the company, because they are making the product decisions. So it's easier for them to graduate to a level of a CEO. So answer is, and if you look at even any industry, I've seen chief product officers in rudimentary industries where there is supposedly no innovation, manufacturing, pharma industry, etc. Everybody is hiring. Even fintech is hiring chief product officers. Everybody ultimately has to earn revenue, right?
Let's take this next question from our LinkedIn viewers. So this question is from Pooja. How to make out if a feature is core or augmented or want?
Superb. So that is another thing. Let me give you an Einstein's quote. Einstein said, if I had 60 minutes to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes on the problem and 5 minutes on the solution, right? So a feature is a solution. I am not obsessed with a feature. I always go back to the problem. So this feature, what problem it is solving? That's question one. Question two, if you know the problem, if it's not solving any problem, dump that feature. Don't even talk about it. If it is solving a problem, then you know what level the problem is. Is it a basic level problem, or is the problem appealing to the customer at a basic level? Or is the problem appealing to the customer at a psychological level, or at a creative level? So if you're solving a creative level problem, then superb. Like as I say, if you're helping my daughter draw better circles on the iPad, then that's a creative problem. She'll not sleep probably, right?
And in continuation to that, she also asked, how do we manage doing customer observations in COVID times when most of the network is remote?
Okay, I'm seriously thrilled. I must say this audience is a super intelligent audience, and I have not faced such interesting and challenging questions. So thank you again for that. Okay, so at times of COVID, what I realized, and there was a question, in fact, with a lot of Google and Apple and my mentees from there, even my mentees from Amazon, they're like, hey, Subha, what to do with this now? We have a situation where I don't want to disturb the customer and when they're in the mid of a crisis, right? But hey, tell me something. If your relative or your family member is in crisis, won't you call them? If they are in happy days or doing okay, not too bad, you may call them less regularly. But when they are in problem, you call them first. That is where you will gain the sense of belonging. And so I would say you should speed up your calling them, call them on the phone, on Zoom, whatever, right? Or shout from a top of a tower, say, hey, I'm here to listen. I'm not talking business. How are you? I want to find out. You know what? You are my customer. I just want to find out. How are you? That's it. And see the change. Right? So, and hire a team who can do that. And you will see the amount of revenue later, and the brand value and the recognition that you get from this. Yeah.
Great insights, Subhayu. I mean, the credit goes to you entirely for having such great interaction with the audience.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my
Right.
pleasure.
So we'll take this next question from Naveen Kumar. How to improve my strategy muscles as a product aspirant?
How to improve my strategy muscles? Very simple. Go to the gym, right? So when you practice it every day, your muscles will grow. If you don't practice it, like sit at home like me and eat fries, your muscles will not grow, right? So the more you go to your customer, the more insights you have, the more you talk to all type of customers who shout at you, customers who bite you, customers who love you, customers who hate you, all type of customers, right? You will get super insights, and then you will be able to prioritize which feature or problem should I first work on.
Great. So next question is from Shashank Subhayu. Why don't we have companies that do what Apple does? Can there be only one Apple in the world?
Well, no.
It's like a monopoly thing. Yeah.
But the unfortunate problem is that we are so metrics driven, and understand one thing. If you go back to the Maslow's curve, or the pyramid, metrics are good to track basic needs of a customer, megapixel, gigahertz, so on and so forth. How can you track the psychological satisfaction of a customer? How can you track the creative satisfaction of a customer? And businesses don't care. Nowadays, there's a fashion to say, I am very data driven. Very good. But you know what? You cannot live your life with one direction. You have to live your life with a broader perception of things. So, metrics, data, basic needs, very good, important. And I'm super metrics driven. But at the same time, you should have a mechanism to define how will you measure the customer satisfaction, the psychological satisfaction, etc. And that can only come when you have insights from the customer, and they will able to tell you, right? So like, for example, if you take an example of an e-commerce business, the customer will tell you that if the driver comes and smiles and then delivers the parcel to me, I feel nice, right? So how can you capture that? So what we did, very simple, we have a camera, right? And the driver, and that captures the moment the driver hands over the parcel to the customer. So we can see the interaction and the facial gesture, and you put that in an AI, the AI will sort of look at the facial expression of the customer and try to interpret whether the customer is happy meeting the driver or not happy meeting the driver. So there are cool ways of doing things as well, but you need to beyond the core numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and amount of revenue and the megapixels, so as to say.
Right. So I think this should answer Jyoti's question as well, which I'm going to read out next. If the Apple competitors observing this, why don't they implement the same in their product? It's a valid question.
Yes. So yeah, I think I partly answered that question.
Right.
It's because you're so obsessed with your customer, you know the customer, so that you are able to track that what is the measurement of the satisfaction of a customer at an abstract level, at a psychological level, or at a creative level. What is the measurement of the satisfaction of the customer, right? And that also can be done very simply. You can call up, like I call up my customers and say, hey, how are you doing? And there are, I won't give you straightforward questioning, because there's no straightforward questioning, but you can figure out the satisfaction level even through customer interviews. Yeah. But then you have to have that effort. Now, if you tell the CEO of a company who thinks they are very data driven, that, hey, I want a group of people just to call the customers, they'll be the first one to criticize it and say, hey, this is a waste of time, right? And yet they want to be Apple. So you can't be on two boats at the same time.
Absolutely. Agreed. So in view of the time constraints, I'm going to take this one last question. Mm-hmm. So what are the top 5 metrics that the iPhone product team works on? I think you partly covered it, but if you could just summarize.
Yeah. So I haven't worked with it, I don't know. But if I have to guess, I can say that they'll be breaking down the product feature into product problems. And then the product problems, what they are solving, every KPI, and every product must have something known as an OKR. So what is the objective of a product? And what are the key results you're trying to drive? So every key result that you're trying to drive. So one of the key results, let's say for Apple, would be that the person should be able to upload a Facebook picture on Facebook the moment they click the picture in a second's time. So then their team can actually study the data from their phone, that how long does it take for one camera picture to upload from the phone to Facebook, right? What's the lead time? So that can be a metric. Because if you're going to take too long a time, it's going to cause dissatisfaction. One of the things you probably have done is upload a huge video in YouTube. It takes hours, right? So that's not customer satisfaction. So these are some of the metrics you have to think about, and depending on the product. Now, when you design the product, automatically you know that these are the problems I want to solve, right? So you already knew before the iPhone came, you knew that I want customers to upload, have a seamless experience when uploading pics on Facebook. That's why you need a lower megapixel camera. If you have a higher megapixel camera, it's more data, it will take more time. See? And then you need a quick Instagram, you need quick app to run very fast. So these are some of the things. You need music without any cuts in between. So these are some of the metrics you can actually drive. And that's why it's super important that they had the full ownership on iOS platform, so that they can get all these data, which belongs not to the basic level, but which appeals to the psychological or the creative level of the customer.
I think that covers that. And it's been a great case study on Apple, Subhayu, really. I mean, we have touched all from A to Z, all the points. Thanks for the participation, audience. For any further questions, you can connect with Subhayu or LinkedIn or other mediums. I hope that's okay with you.
Yes, of course. Please do connect. I'm most happy to help you out if you have any specific questions. Yeah, and thank you, audience, for engaging. It was really pleasure to even talking to you.
Right. So we have enjoyed having you with us, Subhayu. It has been a complete pleasure. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from the Institute. So the QR code on the certificate will take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page we have created for you with the recording of this session. So please share it among your network and we will do the same. We'll share the video on the YouTube for all the audiences who want to check it out again. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts, Subhayu, and amazing insights drawn from years of research and experience in the industry. I'm certain that our audience will definitely benefit from the methods you suggested and get ahead in their careers. Thank you once again for joining us.
Good night.